Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film The Boy and the Beast. I had never seen a Mamoru Hosoda movie before I had seen The Boy and the Beast, and I kind of just like to see any animated film that's able to make it to theaters, because oftentimes the ones that aren't mass marketed, have a huge budget behind them, don't get to be in theaters for very long, so seeing them in theaters is a unique experience unto itself, really. And I also just wanted to see a film by Mamoru Hosoda because he's so well regarded. I don't know if this is really the best film to start off with his filmography. I'm sure most are surprised I haven't seen the other ones. I should, and I plan on doing that. But I just wanted to say at least I'd seen one and support this film being in theaters. Now, as for him being the new Hayao Miyazaki, I don't really think anyone could be the new Hayao Miyazaki, but I also don't think anyone could really be the new Mamoru Hosoda either. I kind of don't like comparing directors in such a way because each director, to me, should be unique and a uniquely different artistic vision. There's stuff that, from at least just this film, Mamoru Hosoda can do that Hayao Miyazaki couldn't. There's a lot of stuff Miyazaki could do that Mamoru Hosoda couldn't. So I don't really want to compare them. Will he be this big animation director in America as big as Hayao Miyazaki? I guess time will tell on that one. But as of right now, I think comparing them is kind of a silly argument. I don't know if this necessarily signifies that or is as big of a work or as big of a show as it was when Princess Mononoke or Spirited Away got more of a theatrical release. But it's just kind of, the whole thing is silly to me, and who cares. One thing I did take away from this film is that you can tell someone who is an experienced storyteller is telling this film. The way this film flows, when you first second guess something as you're watching the film, you notice like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand why you did that in more of a conventional way, in what felt like not as nuanced when I first saw it, later helps a part that's a lot more nuanced. And it really shows kind of like a craftsman's view to storytelling, almost like a slow focus to it, that a film with this much action in it wouldn't normally have. And I think Mamoru Hosoda is very good at storytelling throughout this film. Really shows an experienced storyteller to do a film like this. And it's interesting to watch a film slowly play out and then reward you and have a real full viewing experience like this film really did. A boy named Ren, who's a 9-year-old boy who recently lost his mother, who died and was supposed to live with his mother's family because they couldn't find his dad. His parents had been previously divorced, so he ran away and started living on the streets of this city that's going to be under you that I can't pronounce. And he one day sees a beast named Kamatsu, I believe, and Kamatsu sees him and decides maybe he could be an apprentice. He comes to the Beast Kingdom and he sees an entryway in the city and he takes it and then enters the Beast Kingdom and lives there for many years as he trains to be Kamatsu's apprentice, making Kamatsu a better warrior as he trains in this fight to become the Beast Lord, because you have to have an apprentice, but it also makes him a better fighter. But as time goes on, he becomes kind of a father to Ren, and Ren, as he gets older, decides he wants to try to go back to the human world and maybe go to a human school and start learning actual things in college, and starts to meet up with a girl and starts to think whether he should stay in the beast world or not, as it becomes time for Kamatsu to finally be in the great tournament and prove himself and hopefully win to be the Beast Lord. When I was watching this film, and this probably is why people say don't live tweet a movie, because you really have to experience the whole thing before talking about it, is the opening sequence of this film where you see Ren and, anyway, whoever you say that guy is, the big bear guy, when they're training together, that felt a little paint by numbers to me, and I wasn't really that into that sequence. I mean, I kind of was. I liked it to a certain degree, but I wasn't that emotionally invested in it. It just felt like a standard kind of training sequence. And then after we get through that training sequence, Ren is older, as he's about 17. Suddenly that means a lot more because you understand their relationship. And I really like that, and it showed Mamoru Hosoda has a real deep understanding of why you need to have those parts within your film and how to use them for later parts in your movie. Basically everything up until the big tournament battle thing I really liked and was very much into, because I understood where Ren was coming from, very much so. That sequence at the beginning where he's younger and 9 years old goes on a bit long. I did feel like it was almost a little standard in training and having this older sloppy guy take in a kid and everything like that. But when I later saw what the fruits of that sequence's labor that I had to go through, I really liked this movie and I really enjoyed it quite a bit. It showed someone who really loved these characters and wanted to really show the arc arc of these characters in a certain way through the plot. He wasn't so obsessed with the action sequences. He was more interested in the characters and letting the audience grow with them in a way and understanding their growth. And showing those two sequences very much did that. And it showed how Mamoru Hosoda very much understood story, and it shows he's a great storyteller. It made me go, oh, I definitely want to see more films by Mamoru Hosoda after seeing this film, because it very much made me go, like, this guy's, his understanding of story is so deep. Like, he can have a sequence that just feels very paint by numbers and standard, but he's almost not doing it in that way because he's setting up something far more nuanced and important later in the film. It's like he understood if he's going to have a sequence that's more paint by numbers, he understands how to use that for the film as a whole, which was a really smart storyteller, frankly. It shows someone who understands the language of film and understands how to do certain things. Let those sequences lead to different parts of your film and let those parts matter to an audience and matter to a story, and cares a lot about character, clearly, especially the character of Ren and the guy who's training him, whose name I can't really pronounce. But then you have this sequence towards the end of the film that feels honestly like it doesn't really need to be in there at all. It feels badly constructed. It almost feels like they needed to have a big action sequence or something, and I seriously question why it's in this movie. The whole sequence towards the end of the film felt completely kind of out of left field. They do build to it to a certain regard, but it didn't feel like they really had a reason for the story to build to that. It almost felt like it was involving another part of the story that we didn't really need to be there. This whole darkness and humans and things with the whale and all this stuff, it just didn't really work at all. And it felt like bad storytelling, and everything I liked about the film suddenly turned on its head for this weird antagonist thing that kind of came out of nowhere. And even that character felt odd, and the understanding of that character coming up was just bizarre, and it made me kind of second guess everything I felt about this film when I saw the second part of it when Ren is 17. I really like The Boy and the Beast. I really like parts of The Boy and the Beast. I really liked seeing a Mamoru Hosoda film, and I definitely like him as a filmmaker, but this showed a tendency to his work that I didn't like, which was including a sequence that just didn't absolutely really need to be in there. I mean, they do involve Ren and the bear guy who trained him, and trying to have that all wrap up together to be something important to their narrative, but it almost felt like they were forcing it, and really this film should have ended at the end of that battle to become the new Beast Lord. That is really the end of the movie. That is the end of the arc. That's what the whole movie's been building to. The opening of the film even talks about this competition. The other thing wasn't built properly throughout the film, really. It definitely doesn't totally, well, it does come out of nowhere, but there's like things that are there that kind of build to it, but it just wasn't as well constructed as the other parts in this film. It's surprising, but it's surprising in the ways that just are bad storytelling, not in a way that's going to help your narrative. I should have been thinking about how smart this was with the character, and instead I was second guessing everything from that point. It just felt completely a betrayal of what he was trying to do. There was no other sequence to back it up to make me go, oh, what I was thinking was wrong. Like, that was the end part of the movie. I don't really understand why they had this battle on Earth, and I really wish this film could have understood more of what was important, like it did throughout most of it, which was the characters and why we had this relationship with the characters and how this built to a certain thing. And they tried to wrap it into that, but it just felt inappropriate. It should have really been the competition for the Beast Lord. That really should have been it, and that was what the whole film was building towards. I still like Mamoru Hosoda. I am interested in his other films. I'm assuming they're a lot stronger than this movie. I still think he's an animation director to watch. I'm not going to disagree with any of that, but I just did feel like that was a certain part of that film. Like the other parts that I second guessed, when it came around, I was like, oh, there's a reason that was there, and I shouldn't have second guessed that. But then there's a whole sequence that really the film needed to end about 20 minutes earlier. It just didn't have the plot to go on there. It's just the characters were over. It didn't need to do that, and that whole plot line felt silly and stupid. If it was a big blockbuster, I would have said because they need to have an awesome end action sequence. Certain films are a certain story, and extending them out for a sequence like that is inappropriate, and it just frankly doesn't work. And I feel bad to disregard The Boy and the Beast in such a way, because I know so many people like it, and I'm sure people will be disappointed that I don't love it as much, but I just felt like it was like 2/3 a good movie, and those 2/3 of a good movie make me love Mamoru Hosoda. Hasoda and want to see more by him. But that 1/3 really brought it down. When that other apprentice comes in, this film just felt like it was kind of like going off into the ether and making nonsense up, when earlier it really felt like a really well-built, well-constructed film. That end part just did not work for me whatsoever, and I don't think really worked for the film, and it showed more of the weakness of this writer-director than it showed his strengths like the other 2/3 really did. I was very disappointed in that, but I still think if you're a fan of animation and anime, you're gonna check it out anyway, so I don't really need to say that. If you're interested in animation, this is still a film I would recommend, and I think just for the 2/3 that are good, you know, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't so bad, so I'm sure you'll still very much enjoy it and enjoy the lush animation, the beautiful character design, the wonderful colors to it. There's a lot to appreciate about this movie. I still think it's a fairly good film. It just is a little too long and a little too overweighted by a fairly poor sequence that Mamoru Hosoda, I honestly think, should have probably known better. So if you have seen The Boy and the Beast and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.